Welcome to this Gold Coast afternoon. It's been 5 months since our last Gold Coast talk. In that time, I've been to Europe, Scandinavia, Finland, Russia, United States and Canada, speaking to the people. You know the people, you and I. And the people, wherever I go, always have the same questions and the same problems all over the earth, it seems. And their main problems take two forms. One is they are entrenched, everybody that I come in touch with is entrenched in the rational cause and effect, mortal, which means dying, mind. They are all looking at life scientifically, like you are doing if you have any problems in your life. But I'll have more to say later about that, so that you can see whether this is your problem. Because I'm telling you, from where I come from, there it is. You still look at your life in a rational cause and effect way. And things are not like that. You still believe the scientists, in other words. The other problem with people all over the earth that I have encountered is they have left me. And if you have been with me before, you will know that I define me very, very simply. I make a distinction between myself and me. I say that myself, thank God, is not me. I say that me is in everybody's immediate experience of their own reality inside their body. I say that me is the tenderest, the sweetest, deepest place inside that body which your intelligence can reflect upon. I say that me is sometimes felt as love. Me, inside that body listening to these words, is sometimes felt as joy, sometimes as peace, sometimes as rightness, sometimes as sheer clarity with no feeling at all, but clarity being no problem. That's me. And me has no opposite. There is no lack of joy in me. There is no unloving in me. There is no problem in me. Because me, that tenderest, sweetest, deepest part in there, that youngest and yet most mature place inside that body, has no opposite. That's me. And the people all over the world have left me, have left their intelligence, has been distracted from me by the many distractions of the scientific mind and its beliefs, by religious beliefs, by all sorts of opinions and beliefs scattered around the world like confetti. When me, this glorious, tender, clear, authoritative place inside the body listening to these words, does not depend on any belief, any opinion. It is immediately accessible to my intelligence listening to these words. But the people have left me. The people, which of course is you listening to these words, the people have preferred to put their intelligence, their reflection, on their self. And as soon as you put your reflection on yourself, you then have self-consideration. And as soon as you are in self-consideration, you are selfish. And selfish means narrow, cut off, isolated, problematical, isn't it? The whole world is focused on itself. And self has opposites. Myself is my feelings. Clear? Clear enough for you? Myself are my feelings. And my feelings, which are emotional, have opposites. So myself lives in the world of opposites. Myself gets depressed. Then I get some good news, and myself is excited and elevated. But as what is excited or elevated has to come down, it's not long before myself makes a problem of my life. For its name is problem, fear and trouble, and I go down into myself again, and I know depression or guilt or worry or fear or jealousy or missing out or wanting or trying, and all the tensions that creates inside my beautiful natural body, which is aligned with me, the tenderest, sweetest place inside the body. The good news is that myself is not me. So I'm going to invite you during this afternoon to question that, so that I can endeavour to lead you into me, into your own reality, which is a bit absurd, isn't it, that I should have to lead you to your own reality. But that's the condition of the world today. It's not true. It's not what you are. But your mind has been distracted by scientific thinking. You really believe that the scientists know anything at all about life, love, truth, death and God, when no scientist on earth knows anything about those glorious subjects which concern me and which the self can never understand. So let us, to begin with now, let us go into me. Now, to do this, please, just follow what I say. I, in that body, listening to these words, am going to use my intelligence. My intelligence, let's get it straight so that there's no need for opinions, so that you don't have to think, because when you've got opinions, you've got to think about your opinions. This is direct experience. This is self-knowledge, your self-knowledge. Your intelligence, to define it, is looking out of your eyes this very moment. Got it? Right. It is also looking out of your ears. Got it? Right. Your intelligence is also looking out of your skin, sensing whether it is hot or cold and whether you need to put a jacket on or take it off. Beautiful, beautiful, glorious intelligence which has no feeling. For what is looking out of your eyes has no feeling. If it had feeling, the fluctuations of good and bad, up and down, excitement and depression, if it had that in it, you would never ever see anything straight. For when I look with my intelligence through my feelings, a terrible film comes over my life, and I can't see the truth anymore. And I then become confused, like the whole world is. Everybody's confused, because they are looking, the intelligence, that wonderful faculty looking out of your eyes, is directed through my feelings, directed through myself, which knows no constancy except good today, depressed tomorrow. My unhappy self. So, please, could we get it straight that we are going to use the intelligence in your body, which can also be identified as the attention. So we're going to use your intelligence, your attention, or it could be called your perception. Now please, breathe out, and then breathe in, and be easy while you do this. Breathing in and out into the diaphragm or the belly, using the chest as little as possible, and being easy. Because the ground of this intelligence, looking out of the eyes, is in my body. And if my body is tense, then my intelligence will waver. So if I can get the ground of my body easy, and to breathe often does that, to breathe deeply into the diaphragm, then I may be able to see straighter. It will not be so wavering. It will be something like what the Buddha was trying to do and eventually supposedly did. I can be more one-pointed. No wavering. Right. So please close the eyes. And using this clarity that was just looking out of your eyes at the speaker, using that same clarity, I look into me, which is the black or the nothing inside my body. Now my body immediately disappears. That's if I can focus finely enough into this black, this nothing inside of it. But at this stage it is likely that my habit of imagining my body is likely to superimpose itself upon my intelligence. And I will be distracted or attempt to imagine my limbs or my head or different parts of my body. I won't be able to imagine all of it because my imagination can never imagine everything in the body. Just it's partial, so it seizes on parts. But just know that that is a distraction of the human mind, which we are trying to use intelligently now. So focus, please, as much as I am able in this moment. Look into this black. Now black is only another word I use for nothing. Be steady, be still, and allow the clarity of the attention just to look at nothing. This is precisely what the Buddha, what Gautama the Buddha did before he announced himself to be Buddha. This is precisely, you are doing precisely what was done then, because what was done then can be done now. There is no mystery or secret about it. This is the Buddhic intelligence, and it is in that body listening to these words. And all I have to do is practice and focus my attention as much as possible onto nothing that is inside of me. One-pointed, unwavering, nothing arises that is true. That is the state of liberation in this moment. Beware. The human mind that you have acquired from the society is going to start interfering. It's going to start making comments, voiceless and even wordless comments. It's going to be monitoring what you're doing, or what I am doing here with my intelligence. It's going to say things like, I can't see anything. Well, let me tell you this. That monitor, that human mind, can never see anything that is true or that is the truth. It's always passing comment on something or other. Whereas my intelligence is doing this, my mind has never done anything in its life and never will, except think about it, pass comments about it, talk about it. My mind is not my intelligence. My mind thinks it's intelligent, but only thinks it is. And intelligence doesn't think, as I'm demonstrating to you now. You can only look into me, into nothing, as long as I am not thinking. The longer I can do this, the more often I can do this, I start to reclaim the one-pointedness of my intelligence, the Buddhic state that was once so naturally mine in this body, this matter. For I am not acquiring anything new in being intelligent and unwavering in this manner. I am simply shedding the ignorance, the distraction, the thinking, the monitor. I'm shedding myself, which prevents me from being my Buddhic wonderness. So that is using the first mode of my intelligence as a human being. The second mode of the intelligence of a human being is feeling. The first mode is clarity. The second mode is feeling. That is how I register my whole existence, either by clarity of intelligence or the clarity of feeling. So I ask you now, can I, in that body listening to these words, can I feel any good in me? This good has no opposite. It is naturally there as the feeling of well-being. For as I am alive and well, there is, without question, the feeling of well-being in here. And I am asking you to just connect with that consciously. For it is a joy to be able to put aside all my feelings of myself, and just to simply feel the natural feeling of well-being that is in my natural body, that is in me. Ah, what a relief it is. Can you feel it? Can I feel it? Of course I can. I am alive and I love. I love my life. If anyone tried to take it from me, I would be most disturbed. I love my life. So why can't I immediately, directly feel the sweet feeling of my life inside of me that never changes? It's just the feeling of well-being that has no opposite. For even when I am sick, or whatever is happening, underneath, if only I can go deep enough and still enough, I am aware that underneath the pain or whatever it is, there is the knowledge of well-being, that all is well, even if it kills me. This, of course, is said to be a mystical state. And by calling it a mystical state, we put it sort of out of reach of you and I, the ordinary people of the earth. And so the religions are able to claim some exclusive right to it. And I tell you, that is religious nonsense. The seeking of power by one group over another. Feel the sweetness in me, in my life, inside this body now. And sometimes that life feeling will change to love. Sometimes, perhaps now, it may be a very subtle joy. Sometimes, like now, it may be a feeling of rightness that I cannot describe except to say, this is good, this is right to be here. For my intelligence is now focused on the unchanging reality that is me, the most subtle of the subtle, the deepest of the deep, and yet, amazingly, it is me. Ah, what a mystery. It is here. It is me, in the body listening to these words. This is the truth. My intelligence is not thinking about it. My intelligence is looking into this nothing, into this extraordinary place. And the immediate knowledge is there. Without any thought or any opinion, the immediate knowledge, this is good. Ah, this is better. And as soon as you feel any good in this state, beware. The monitor, the human mind, the robot mind that is controlling the earth, or let's say controlling the world, or thinks it is. The robot mind is going to start passing some stupid comments. It's going to try to describe what's happening. Please, keep focused on me, and the mind will be still. For the mind is myself, and myself can never, ever reach me. Please don't think. If you think, you immediately leave me, and you are thinking about yourself. Just look into me. Every moment that you do this, you are regaining the stillness, the silence, the peace, the liberation of being me. There are no problems in me. Watch for the mind that says, but what about? Ha-ha. You see, you can always count on the mind to have something to say that has got no reference to what is being done now. Stay focused. And come unto me in this manner as often as you are reminded by your intelligence to do it. In this is the beginning of freedom and liberation. As Gautama discovered, after many, many days under the Bo tree. Well, you're sitting there now. Let's not have any fancy stories about the past. You're doing it. Someone's got to do it. Now. There are no storybooks here. No nice little stories. I'm here to do it. There's nobody else to do it. For what good is it to you if Buddha did it or anyone did it? I have to do it. The intelligence in that body. For it to be real. But I am doing it now. And I am here, in the speaker, to help you do it. By the power of my reality, my one-pointedness, my Buddhic presence. Don't think. One thought and you leave me. Please direct the intelligence back into the black, which is nothing. Keep looking into nothing. For I tell you, when you are dying, this is precisely what you will be doing. Only then the distractions of the world will become less and less. And you will be focused onto this nothing. Only instead of being focused on it, I and that body then will be descending into this, into the great mystery. So that's what I am doing now. I am looking at reality. That from this perception, in this matter, this body, appears to be nothing. And yet it intimates to my intelligence that this is it, that this is right, that this is true. Without any need of thought or understanding. It is all a matter of what you look at, what mirror you look into. Here I am looking into nothing, which is the real mirror. The mirror behind everything that exists is what I am looking into me. And when I look into a mirror like this that does not move, that never changes, that is absolutely still, so my mind or my intelligence starts to stop moving similarly. And it becomes all one-pointed. But when I look into the world, which is always moving, and I am distracted by the circumstances of my life, and I see this one moving, that one moving, everything moving, what do you think happens to my intelligence? It degenerates into the human mind, which is always moving, restless, always trying to understand something or other outside itself. It is by looking into me in this way, by practicing this, looking into reality which is nothing, that I then am able to look into the world in my waking hours and see through the world into the reality behind it, in the same way as I am at this moment looking through myself and seeing me, the reality behind it. But unless I have steadied my mind by looking into nothing, into me, I will not be able to see through the circumstances of my life and the world. And my mind will waver, be ever moving, and I will never know peace. For that mirror makes my mind restless. So this is the way to see through the world. For the world external is purely a mirror of myself. So now I am seeing through myself into the nothing which is me, so that eventually I can see through the world of ever-changing circumstances, see through into the peace behind it, that is again me. Me who is behind all experience, within or without. Now, I ask you now to be focusing on me in the way that we have been practicing now, seeing nothing inside. I now ask you, while doing that, to open the eyes and come into the ever-changing, ever-moving, ever-restless, ever-inconstant, ever-problematical world. Whereas my intelligence, my consciousness is still focused on me. This is quite easy to do, as long as I do not think, for thinking splits my consciousness, divides me, and I don't know whether I'm myself or me. Now there's no need to think, to sit there. You won't fall off the chair if you don't think. You can keep the perception on me inside. It is quite natural. It took thousands of years to learn to think. Thousands of years it took the human race to learn to think. To learn to have problems, it took enormous amount of effort and time to be unhappy. Enormous amount. Which means that the time before that, I was free of unhappiness. Who was? Well, I was in me, see? No unhappiness in me. As long as I do not think. If you think, you will think about your problems, and you will make your life a problem. Now, come on. Come on. It's simple as this. The monitor or the mind says, simple. I don't think it's simple. Be careful. Nothing is simple to the human mind. The human mind, the monitor, always makes a problem of everything. It'll even make a problem of me, which is the reality in that body, is it not? Now just keep focused on me. Now, I see that there are some new people with me, possibly with me for the first time. Is that so? Would you mind raising your hand if you're with me for the first time? Thank you. Yes, quite a number. May I ask those of you who are with me for the first time, if I have said anything that is not clear to you, if I can make what I am saying more clear, please would you ask me where I can help you to do that? Yes.
The me.
Not the me. There is no the me. That's objectifying me. Did you hear? Did you hear what you said? You said, please, I'm not being critical. Did you hear what you said? This is what is done by the scientific mind, the rational mind. The me. It is always putting me objective. Whereas me is utterly and completely subjective, isn't it? It's me, the subject. Isn't it? You know, what was your question?
Who, what and where is me?
Who, what and where is me? I think the best question is, where is me? Yes. And what is me? Right. Now, you are alive. What is your first name?
Greg.
Greg, are you alive? Answer me straight.
Yes.
Thank you. How do you know you're alive?
That's a good question.
Well, let me tell you. When you are asleep, in deep dreamer's sleep, you don't know that you're alive, do you?
In my dreams?
No, I said no, don't invent things, Greg. Please listen straight. You've got that rational scientific mind going. You're not even hearing straight. When you are in deep dreamless sleep, you do not know you are alive, do you?
No.
Thank you. When you wake up, you feel something. Do you feel anything inside your body now?
Now?
There's only now, yes?
Yeah.
Well, that's me. What do you feel?
I have to think about it. No,
I-
I understand.
It's quite... Greg is being very straight about it.
Yes.
And he said, I have to think about it. That means I've got to reflect on it. No, because that would be the monitor.
Yeah, right.
Now, if you're thirsty, do you have to reflect on whether you're thirsty or not?
No.
Isn't that amazing? It's a direct experience, isn't it?
Yes.
So we're going a little bit deeper than that. It's a direct experience of the feeling of life, which is me, where I feel. Yeah. Good, right? Could be called sensation, but really, sometimes it's sweet, right? Got it?
Getting it.
Yeah. Getting there is right. Because what stops Greg from going there immediately, and I'm not just saying you alone, Greg, is that the mind wants to understand it, wants to reflect on it. Like I notice, Greg, that in your earnestness, you have been taking some notes. Right? Now, those notes are self-reflection. You're going to reflect on those notes after. Now that's fine if you go into a university course or trying to learn some unnatural subject like geometry, mathematics or business accountancy. You have to take a lot of notes. You've got to take a lot of notes to teach yourself to be unhappy, right? To get rid of the notes means to get rid of my self-reflection, which means to get rid of myself. Then I can hear what I'm saying direct. Because I put it very practically, don't I, Greg? Do I?
I'm sure you do.
I see by the smile on your face
Yes,
that there's a part of you that sees that I do.
Yes, there's a part.
That's right. Right. Now that's the part that brought you here. That's the God in you, the real being in you, the man that you are, the wonderful man that you are, that wants to find the truth, that is driven inside by some extraordinary thing is driving you to try to find what is the truth. That's what drove you here, and that's what I am speaking to. So I am not speaking to your mind or yourself or your memory or any notes. I am speaking to the man that is immediately there and immediately intelligent. But it takes time to put the restless mind to stop it reflecting. That's why you come to be with me as often as you can, Greg, inside and out. And I will reflect to you the truth. And you will feel more and more profoundly this extraordinary thing that you are inside, which is still and yet sweet and right. And you will grow in the authority of the man that you are. Right. Somebody else with me for the first time like to ask me a question, please. Yes. Your name?
Roger.
Roger, yes, Roger.
I'm interested in unlearning what I might have learned in order to reach the me.
The what?
No,
I am interested in unlearning, says Greg, what is getting in the way of reaching the me, but he corrected himself, and reaching me. Now, Greg, have you said... Roger, I'm sorry, yes, Roger. Thank you, Roger. You can see how when we put the word thee there, it distracts, it puts me over there. Whereas when I say, I want to be able to reach me, it becomes a rather ludicrous statement. A bit absurd, because who's speaking? I who am me. And that's rather silly to try to reach I who am me when I am saying what I'm saying, because this is me. So how can I reach me when I'm already here? You can't. You can only reach something that's distant, can't you? I mean, it's absurd. But it is, the mind is absurd. The human mind is absurd. So me, though, let us define it so that you've got something to address. Me is the tenderest, sweetest place, which is there now. You know, the boy or the girl that you were once. She or he has not disappeared. The tenderness, the innocence, the openness to life, the beauty of the senses that was felt by the boy or girl is still there. That never gets old. That's always there. Do you know what I'm talking about, Roger? Of course you do. That's me. What you just said, yes, I know what you're talking about. You are talking about me. Is that right, Roger?
Yes.
Me, Roger, I'm talking about, aren't I? Right, you got it?
Yes.
Ah, but how subtle it is. How quickly the mind will doubt and say, but what about? There's no about. Anybody else? Any new people like to ask me a question, please, if I can make it any clearer. But often in the speaking to one, I'm able to make it clear to the many because they ask the right question. Anybody else like to ask me a question? Right. I will not make a fool of anyone. We are not here. I'm not here to criticize anybody. I will just use your question to demonstrate the truth to as many people as I can. And I thank you for your questions. Oh yes, Leonie, isn't it?
Yes. When I'm ready to ask you a question, I feel like I want to throw up most of the time.
When I want to ask you a question, I feel I want to throw up most of the time.
But I'm here. And there's been a clarity in my life that's left me. It was only for a moment, so I know I've brought it into a memory.
There's been a clarity in my mind that my life that has left me.
And a great sadness comes over me because I see the observer observing the self.
And a great sadness comes over me as I see the observer observing the self.
And the observer is judging myself.
And the observer is judging myself.
And I saw that the other day. And it came to me in a symbol in the psychic time as a circle with two lines either side.
And it came to me as a symbol in the psyche the other day as a circle with two lines.
After I had a psychic experience where the devil sits at my window and yells sexual obscenities at me. And all of a sudden I was able to see that I was judging myself. And I'm wondering if you might...
And all of a sudden I was able to see that I was judging myself. So the thing that's looking, the observer, is her intelligence. The same intelligence that's looking out of your eyes now. Leonie, that is the intelligence that's observing. But what is it observing? It is observing yourself.
It's observing myself, watching myself.
It is observing myself, watching myself, but it's the same self.
Yeah.
Splits itself to make it, to confuse the issue. So your intelligence is focused on yourself. Right. Instead of being focused on me. So when the intelligence is focused on yourself, your own emotions, what happens to your intelligence? It starts to waver and reflect the emotions. And then you get confused because the intelligence is not supposed to be wavering. But when it looks on my inconstant feelings, such as you described the psychic experience of the devil on your window, I know that can be for some tormented people, and that exists in this world, the devil sitting by your window shouting sexual obscenities to you. This is not some imaginative thing, it is an emotion inside of Leonie, but it's in herself. what has to happen is she has to get rid of the emotion of the sexuality in her body, and she has to put her intelligence, focus it as much as possible onto me. But as me is deeper than myself, as me is so subtle, so fine, while the self is disturbed by the emotions, my intelligence will be drawn to that. So what does she do? How can she get rid of the sexuality that she is talking about? And sexuality is indeed the devil. But don't worry, Leonie is not the only one in the world with it. Everybody has got this devil in them, only it doesn't take psychic manifestation in everybody. It takes many other forms. It doesn't take the psychic manifestation that she described. So what does she do? As much as possible in her external world, in the external world which is the immediate reality of awareness, she has to love. She has to give her sweet nature as much as possible all day long. From the moment that she wakes up, she has to be in her sweet nature. For her sweet nature comes from me. So the more that she is able to give her sweet nature, the more she is in me, the more she is in contact with that which is not sexual but which is love. This will irritate, will make the sexuality even worse, because the sexuality is an emotional entity, and it will try to get her to either be frightened by it, to think about sexual matters, to feel that she's a failure. It will do all those things to distract her from me, her sweet nature. Each of us is a battlefield in the sense that it is here in these bodies where the world of me, which is the world of God or reality, meets with the sexual, ignorant world that you see all around you. Everybody is given their job to overcome whatever is inside of you. Everybody. So Leonie has to do this. It's not Leonie's fault. She's not to blame. It's just that in that body, this is the particular difficulty that she, through the maturing of her intelligence, the shedding of its focus on itself, and a coming of its greater focus onto me, this is what she has to do. But it cannot be done without an addressing of your external life.
Barry, I feel like I've had anger which damaged my children, but I also feel like I've been giving and giving and giving and giving all my life.
I've had anger which I feel has damaged my children, but I've felt that I've been giving and giving all my life. Now, what do you mean by giving, Leonie?
Well,
just give it to me quickly.
I've always been there for people and endeavoured to love.
I've always been there for people.
Yeah, and to
Endeavoured to love.
Clean up their houses and, just listen to them and care what they feel like and how they feel. And I feel like it must have been not sincere, the giving.
That is so. I feel like the giving was not all sincere, and that is so. You must stop trying to give, and in the moment you must give your sweet nature, which is to walk around not thinking, first of all, to be in your senses, seeing the day, hearing the day, smelling the day, or whatever it is, seeing the traffic, walking around, not thinking. That is how you begin to be able to give your sweet nature. And in the moment, do things. Give your sweet nature. That doesn't you don't have to do anything for anybody, because if you're locked into being your sweet nature, events will occur in the moment where you do them. But to listen to people, for instance, to listen to people's sad story, do you think that helps them? No. That indulges their sad story. If somebody wants to tell me a sad story, which everybody wants to do, of course, except those like yourselves who are trying to find God and trying to find reality, I say, why are we having this conversation? Why don't you get rid of it? I will help you to get rid of it, but why are you telling me this sad story? I've heard it. Everybody, I can go to anybody in the street and say, tell me your sad story, and I'll get the same story you're telling me with a few variations. When are you going to tell me something original, like, I love life? You know, that's the rarest story ever told. It's a lovely day, not wishing some other one a lovely day. You know, have a nice day. What rubbish. Because that's like the scientist. That's like saying, the me. Righto, let's leave it there. You get the message now, Leonie. You're back with me. You were at the master session, weren't you? As soon as you are with me again, all that you've received from previous meetings with me, such as the master session down at Cabarita, where we spent 17 days together, where people were by the mirror, they found their reality more and more. You go into the world, it starts to get obscured and confused because we believe the moving world. You come back to be with me, the speaker. It doesn't take long to get back in there again. You go down there very quickly. You get the reflection. You're looking in the right mirror. That's all. So be of good cheer. I wanted to talk next about the blindness and deception of the scientific mind. Now, the stars twinkle, don't they? The lovers embrace and look under the moon, at the moon. The wind blows, the sweetness of the sea makes my sense of smell a wonder. The sweetness of the rain that I heard a man yesterday mention, who has been very close to death. Ah, how he loved the sweetness of the smell of the rain. How beautiful it is when we are so close to death, how our senses start to come to life again. But when we are so close to ourself, how our senses start to lose their acuity, how insensitive they become, how we lose our sense of smell, our ability to savour the beauty of the earth. And so the stars twinkle, the moon shine, the lovers embrace, the children laugh. Ah, yes, how beautiful is life on this planet. And then I read arguably the most brilliant scientist of his generation, Stephen Hawking, in the first of 2 essays from his latest book, asks, how can the human race have free will if the universe is determined by the laws of science? And I have read this article as far as it is reported in this, and I have not read one word about the sweetness of the rain, the smell of the earth, the love of the lovers, the beauty of children. All I have heard is the driest bit of rubbish that keeps repeating on the television and makes you unhappy, and believing in the me instead of putting the me where it belongs. It is me. This is my life. No scientist can ever describe my life. My life is here now, this moment and every moment. I am responsible for my life. This is my life, and nobody can describe it because it is indescribable. Because my life is a life of love and truth and clarity. That is my life. Now I want you to listen to this. Are we masters of our fate? How can the human race have free will if the universe is determined by the laws of science? The first problem with science is its enormous suppositions. Its enormous illogic. There is no scientist who is logical. None. They are all illogical. They are rational. But to be rational is to put second thing first. To be logical, like I am logical, is to put first thing first. And what comes first in my life? Love. The smell of the earth, the sweetness of the rain, the twinkling of the stars, the glory of the heavens as I look at it, the wonder of embracing the beloved in somebody. That's where I come from. That's my life. Now I'm going to tell you what the scientific life is. First of all, the scientists talk about we. Are we masters of our fate? That's as dishonest as saying thee me. You can never talk about we in truth. It is always me or I in truth. So you will never find in Stephen Hawking's brilliant mind any talk about I or me. It will always be about we or the human race or some other objectivity outside himself. The arguments for predeterminism, you know that it's all predetermined. It used to be that God was omnipotent and outside time, so God would know what was going to happen. But how then could we have any free will? And if we don't have free will, how can we be responsible for our actions? It can hardly be one's fault if one has been preordained to rob a bank, so why should one be punished for it? I mean, the immaturity is, it's abysmal. The immaturity, you know, the lack of reality. In recent times, the arguments for determination has been based on science. It seems that there are well-defined laws that govern how the universe and everything develops in time. There seem to be laws. He doesn't even know. If the universe is determined by laws of science, he says, how can we, the human race, have free will? If. Now, whenever you use the word if, man and woman, you want to be very careful. It means you don't know. So our supposition starts with a supposition and then assumes that it's a fact. And then they go on to tell me about the Big Bang. What does the Big Bang mean to you when your heart is broken? What does it matter to you how far away the furthest star is in scientific theory? Do not the stars twinkle? Isn't that enough for you? Do you know what the scientists are doing? When they measure the universe, they measure their distance from me. Did you know that? No, you didn't know that, but I'm telling you that. When the scientific mind measures the universe of the stars and estimates how far away was the beginning of the universe, it then estimates rationally how far the scientist himself is from me. That is 20,000 billion light years away. And that's right. Every scientist is 20,000 billion light years away from me, the beginning, the state before the Big Bang. For me, inside that body now, is the state, the pre-existent state, where there is no time, where everything is solved now. where all the answers are known by not having to be known. It is called eternity, and that is me. So you see, the rational mind can make a theory of anything, but you'll notice that in science the word truth is never, ever used or allowed to be used. It is always theory, which means we don't know. So truth is banned from science, and yet they have the audacity to tell my children the rubbish that this Stephen Hawking is putting into them. So what are going to happen to my children with the likes of this sort of talk? They're going to become more and more rational. They're going to put second thing first. They're going to go into Stephen Hawking's world of stars, of spaceships, of Star Wars. Notice the word Star Wars. There's no love in any of this mental, intellectual journey into the stars. It's war. It's shoot 'em down. It's kill. Right. And if there were any love, like I understand a film called E.T. was supposed to represent, it is such sentimental, sickly stuff, made of the human condition, which is always looking for something to fill its emptiness, its loneliness. So I ask you, woman, because I am so empty, I am so hurt inside myself, so emptied of love, that I will want you to make love to me so that I can get a feed of you to fill my selfish emptiness. And then I will leave you, of course. Having had a feed of you, I will leave you. For I am the ever-devouring black hole. There are no black holes in the universe, only the black hole that is the self trying to find some truth. Never will happen. The real black hole is me. What do you think pulled you here this day? What do you think will not allow you to give up the longing to find me? What do you think's doing that? Do you think it's some objective black hole 20,000 light years out in space? Do you really fall for that nonsense? Where is the black hole me inside of you? This never-ending nothingness that will never let you rest. And I tell you, if you leave me the speaker and you go your way, as you may do, it will not be that long before you return to me, for you cannot resist the living truth while you are alive. Once the longing starts from the deep black hole of God or truth. The only way to help your children, although they must go through all this scientific rationality, which is the very basis of your own doubts and fears, is to endeavour to communicate to them that the stars do twinkle, that lovers embrace, that it is sweet to jump into the sea, that is real, that anything about the universe is utter nonsense. Any theory about the universe is utter and complete intellectual nonsense. I even go as far as to say, if you've read my journals, and we're reproducing the first two again shortly in England, we're publishing them, where I always refer to the question of extraterrestrial intelligence. I am extraterrestrial intelligence, but really I'm terrestrial intelligence. Do you know there's no other life in the universe but life on Earth? That's the truth. The scientists never know this. They're all searching for life in the universe that doesn't exist. The only life is in me. That's all. And if ever I meet an extraterrestrial in that body listening to these words, don't worry. It'll only be me in another time. You'll only be meeting yourself. Isn't that amazing? There is no other life in the universe but life on earth. How can I be so sure of this? Well, first of all, I am universal intelligence. I am Buddhic intelligence and universal intelligence. I know everything I need to know, for I have access to the vast mind, the vast memory of God. So let me just demonstrate very simply for you how there is only life on earth. What is life on earth? Is it not everything that you can see, hear, taste, smell, and imagine? All right with that? Everything that you can imagine comes from your senses, your experience of life on earth. Now, it is the scientific way to investigate the objects of the senses. What they can see, what they can measure, what they can feel, I presume what they can taste, if they can taste it. They go and measure this, what is seen with the senses. Now let's have a look at this great world of the scientists. What happens when you lose your sense of sight, hearing, smell, taste, feeling, balance? When you lose everything, where is the universe? Tonight, when you go into deep dreamless sleep, where is the universe? It has disappeared, because it does not exist except in sense. It disappears every night and comes back every morning for a while. So you see, it is a sensory universe. Without the senses, it doesn't exist. So if you measure how far the sensory stars are, how can you? You're just measuring your own mind, your own self, your own sense of reality. And all sense comes out of your brain. Your brain is a product of life on earth. You lose your brain, there's no life on earth. Finished. You're born with a brain, life on earth gradually appears. So the whole universe is a product of your brain. And your brain is sensory. So, if you investigate the senses, you won't do it for long. About 90 years at the outside, if you haven't got Alzheimer's disease before then, in the brain, then it all disappears. What sort of a reality is that? What are you concerned with, man and woman? I'll tell you what you're concerned with to be here. You are not concerned with the senses. You know they are a limited existence. You are concerned with love, with truth, with reality. You are concerned with a life that is not limited by the senses. That you will think like a scientist and limit your life. And so then when you come to address your love life, what do? you think of it in terms of cause and effect, which is what the scientists do. Cause and effect is a rational way of looking at things. And your love life is not rational. Have you noticed? Love is not rational. Love is not sense. Love is closer to nonsense, no sense. Have you noticed? Love is what I am. Love is me. In that body listening to these words. All love is in me. And then from time, in that body listening to these words, and from time to time, by the wonder of God's existence here, my love manifests a form, or brings to me a form, that reflects this extraordinary love that I have inside of me. It's not that one that reflects it, not that woman or man, not that one, but this one. Isn't it extraordinary? Why do I love a particular woman if I'm a man? Simply because she is a mirror for my love. And so her psychic presence reflects to me my own love within. And I say, how I love you. I want to be with you forever and ever. What I'm saying is, my mind, which is always objectifying my love, is saying, I want to be with my love forever. Well, my love is me. And my mind's always trying to objectify it out there. Like the scientists try to objectify the universe out there. Like the scientists say, are we masters of our fate? Are we, not am I, masters of our fate? If Stephen Hawking asked himself. Or he asked me, am I master of my fate? Well, we'd have an intelligent conversation. So, perhaps one day, Stephen Hawking will hear this recording. And perhaps then he would enjoy having an intelligent conversation with me instead of his scientific friends. And wouldn't it be good for the people, for the most brilliant, and I'll just get the words right, and arguably the most brilliant scientist of his generation, to have recorded and unedited in perhaps a television recording of an intelligent conversation with me, the spiritual master, the master of who is enlightened consciousness, who puts first thing first. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing for the people? Well, I think it would. So perhaps he would enjoy that. Or perhaps he couldn't be bothered. But I have had conversations with the late Professor Bone, a very recognized and celebrated scientist, and with the poet, the laureate, the Nobel Prize winner, Professor Joseph Sinnott in Cambridge. Eminent scientists. So, I trust that Professor Hawking will take us up on this so that the people can hear who speaks the truth. The scientist, or I who say I am enlightened. That is, I know life as it is, and not as I think it is or theorize it to be. Now, I have another heading here that I'd like to talk about in a moment, but before I do, let us go into me. Let's go and have a look at this eternal black hole, to use the popular expression. which is inside the body. So please, breathe out first. Be easy. 3 or 4 times into the diaphragm or the belly, using the chest as little as possible. Relax. Now, close the eyes and focusing the intelligence, because by closing the eyes we gather more of the intelligent resource of our perception, and focus it into me. I am now looking into me with clarity, and I see nothing. And it is the truth that there is nothing in me, for I am looking into the black emptiness that is nothing. I am looking into the life inside this body, the actual life. The power of life is this black, emptied nothing. I am looking into life before it takes form. That is why I cannot see anything in here, because there are no forms in me. Forms only appear when this life passes through the human brain and creates forms through the senses. In here, where I am looking into this great black vastness, this great black void, which is certainly not empty, but is emptied of any self or any thought. As I look into this, I am looking into life before it takes form in my brain. This purifies my mind, as the Buddha discovered. The restlessness gradually ceases, because when I look at nothing, I am looking at a mirror of stillness. And whenever I can look into this mirror of stillness, I, the intelligence, become stiller and stiller, until there is no difference between the nothing I am looking at and the intelligence, which then also is nothing. I am then in the state of being, beyond description, but not beyond being. Don't think. If you think, you can only think about what you've seen with your senses, or read with your senses, or heard in your senses. Please, do what is new and fresh and new every moment. Look into nothing, into me. There is no past in this, and everything you think of comes out of the past. Please, address my reality inside the body, listening to these words. Be still and know that I am God, rightness, presence, me, whatever word you like to use. Be still. This is the way home to the beginning. This is the moment before the big bang of theorizing and thinking. Look into me, the black and the still and the silent and the everlasting emptiness. Now, still looking into me, open the eyes. Enter the world of awareness, but still stay in the world of consciousness, where there is nothing, and enter the world of awareness, where there is everything in all form. Stay with me, and let's have a cup of tea. Thank you. Now, most people have heard of the phrase catch-22. It means a situation so rounded, so circular, that when you're in a catch-22, there's no way out. But I remind you of where the phrase originated, as far as I can remember. It originated from a book called Catch-22, a story of the American Air Force, I think, in which a disgruntled airman goes up to the officer, commanding officer, and says, "Sir, I want to apply for discharge." The officer says, "On what grounds?" "On the grounds of insanity, sir. I'm insane." The officer says, "Application refused." "On what grounds, sir?" "On the grounds that you had to be insane to join anyway." So, in the spiritual life, the problem of the spiritual life is catch-22 situation. Because the one, he or she, who wants to understand what's going on, he or she, the monitor who asks all the questions, he or she who says, "Oh, that's good, I understand that," or "What about this?" he or she is the problem. And the catch-22 is that he or she who's asking all the questions and wants to understand what's going on is the very thing that has to die. That's the catch-22, isn't it? When you go into me, look at the confusion of the monitor, of the questioner inside of you, who so often says, observes when you go into me, there's nothing here. I don't feel anything. I don't see anything. That's the thing that's got to go. Where is the stillness? Is what you are. And the movement of the questioner, the doubter, the judger, the one who wants to understand. That's what's got to die. Because I tell you, monitor and questioner, in that body, I tell you, you can't get out. Application for discharge is refused. You got to die. You're the problem. This, of course, is incomprehensible to the self, to the mind. It would even say, as I say this, well, what's he talking about? And this is your dilemma, isn't it, when it exists? That you truly want to be free. You truly want liberation. You truly want to find God. And the very wanting of that is the monitor, the thing that has to go. So, what's the solution? What's the way out? Well, that's the catch-22, the circle that I've just described. The truth is that that circle exists in a great space. And that great space is me in every one of you. A vast intelligence, the very source of the intelligence of the questioner. But there is no question in that space. There is no thought in that space. It is the space of the Buddha, the void in which nothing arises. For if something arises in that space, then it's not nothing. And the Buddha's point was, nothing arising. No question. Now what question have you got to really ask me? There is no question. Because you are already there. But the self, which is the questioner, which is the problem, is going to say, but there is a question. I don't understand. I'm not liberated. I'm not free. And you never will be. Self says, well, you just said that I'm already free, and I'm telling you I'm not free. And I say, but I'm not talking to you. Well, who are you talking to? I'm talking to the silence and stillness that is the real man or woman intelligence in that body. That which does not need to understand. You will notice that when you come to be with me, the speaker, you can come with many questions. Yet when you sit here, they seem to dissolve. What seemed to be so important loses its importance as a question. That is because when you gaze into my mirror, you see the truth inside yourself. And the truth is, there's nothing for you to know that you need to know. If you need to know it, then you will be informed. In the state of my consciousness, I don't have any questions in the truth. I certainly have questions when I do in the practical world, but that's the practical world, that's the rational world of cause and effect. And there, of course, you have to ask questions when you need to, but not more than you need to. But in the world, that's the world of awareness, which you are looking at, the sensory world, which you're looking at it with your senses. But the world of me, the world of consciousness, is emptied now. No problem. You don't need to know anything. What do you need to know? If there is nothing, I tell you, and any master you've ever been with will tell you, There is nothing. That's the highest truth. So if that's the highest truth, there you are. And the monitor says, but there's nothing. And you say, yes, you're dead right. Little Sareka is saying the obvious. So the whole spiritual life is about getting rid of the questioner in matters of love, life, truth, death, or God. The questioner can never, ever understand any of those subjects. And the way to get rid of the questioner is to live your life and not think about it. If you think about your life, that is the monitor, and that will immediately raise questions so that you will have something you feel you need to understand. For instance, does he or she love me? Fair enough question. This is the one that troubles all lovers, isn't it? In the beginning, or mostly. It is obvious whether someone loves you or not. They enjoy being with you. They talk about love and life and God and truth with a reality. They enjoy making love with you. They enjoy being in your physical presence when they can. It's quite easy. They are not unhappy. They do not get angry, attached to their anger. They do not get moody. They do not get emotional with you as an attachment to some position. That obviously shows they love you, doesn't it? So, you can always tell whether somebody loves you, because they give to you, don't they? They give. For love is to give. Love is also communication. That's why it's so terribly important that when somebody loves you, that they are able to speak to you of those things that are truly important, such as the love. What is this love that we have? What is it? So that we are able to speak about this love that we have. What is getting in the way of this love that we have? For there is no doubt I love you. What gets in the way of it? In an intelligent conversation like that, I can say, honestly, well, I have a hurt feeling inside of me. All hurt feelings are in myself. There's none in me. So I will know that there is something in myself. Myself is disturbed by some situation. That is the value of the self. You could say to me, well, I understand about me that there's nothing there and nothing arising, and it is very beautiful when my intelligence is connected with that, and I am that. That is very beautiful, no problem. But what about when myself is disturbed? That part of me, that part of my being that is not me but is myself. What happens when that gets disturbed? What does that mean? What is the value of myself, in other words? The value of myself is that it tells me when there is a situation in my life that is not right. Now, it's either the situation externalized in my life as circumstances, as someone or something, or myself is disturbed by itself, which is its own past, that I have not got rid of, that I'm still holding on to. Like a past lover. A past lover may be nowhere in my immediate purview of my circumstances. They may have gone a couple of years ago, and They're not around anymore and in external sense. But I might have a disturbance when I make love. Or when I am with my new partner, I might get disturbed mysteriously from time to time. My self vibrates and I'm unhappy or something's troubling me. That could be my past. I'm hanging on to a past lover. Or if I have been angry with someone in the past and have not forgiven them, but I've forgotten about it, and I meet some other angry person, or seemingly a situation that seems to reflect the anger that I have in me, myself will vibrate. I will put that past anger that I have not absolved by taking right action, I will put that onto the present situation and say, or the person in front of me. And I'll say, you're making me angry, you're angry, you're making me angry and you're angry. But I'll put my anger onto them or that situation. So what I have to do is use myself for what it is supposed to be. Myself is my experience of life. And if anything is happening which agitates it or disturbs it, then I have to look into my life or into my past and see what am I holding on to, or where am I not living truly in my life. Because if I do not live truly in my life out there, myself will get disturbed. So, the self has a great use. But what I do, usually, in my ignorance, is I turn my back on that warning that something is wrong in my life, and I go and seek some distraction to get away from the pain. And the favourite one is to have some sex, because that gives me temporary relief. My selfishness of pain is going like this, and so a bit of love as sex will give me the feeling of love and quell this for a while. But then of course it will come up again tomorrow or the next day, because my life's not right, and still vibrate. And then I will take a drink, or have to have a drink to quell it, or a drug, and that quells it for a while. But always for a while. The self keeps coming back, vibrating again, saying, your life's not right. There's something wrong with my life. So that's the value of the self. Now, would any new person who's with me for the first time like to ask me a question about what I have said? Anything, to make it clear, to enable me to make it clearer for you. Yes, your name?
Robert,
Yes, Robert.
in the process of working out your life, working out my life, can you have a joy in that, or is there a painful process to get to where you want to get to? Can't you enjoy?
In the process of working out my life, getting it right, is that what you mean, getting it right?
Right.
Yes. Is there joy in that? Can there be joy in this, or is it all pain? No, there is joy in your life, isn't there? You walk along the beach, you walk down the street, you get up in the morning, there's joy, meaning it's good to be alive, isn't it? So there's no doubt about joy in our life, or rightness in our life, right? But what we have to focus on, there is much more joy or clarity in our life than the other. But what the self remembers is the bad. The self can never remember the good unless it suits it to think about the good old days, you know. Self never remembers the good. It only remembers the bad. That's why you worry. That's why we say we could have a sad story to tell people instead of saying life is good, which it is, isn't it? I presume it's good. We haven't committed suicide yet, have we? Life is good. That's mostly our experience of life. But the monitor, the self, enjoys being unhappy, enjoys a problem. So, to get rid of that enjoyment of unhappiness, which is ignorance, I have to attend to my life where I am where it's making me unhappy. In doing that, indeed, I will have to be courageous. Because one thing I don't want to face, any of us, is where I am being made unhappy by my life. Some circumstance, some lover, mother, father, partner, job, one of those things. I don't like to face that. So the pain starts because I have to face it and see, yes, it is making me unhappy, so that I can then prepare myself to take some action, because action always purifies a situation, and get rid of it. As soon as I start to take action to rid myself or change that circumstance rightly that is making me unhappy, I find myself settles down. I don't get disturbed, obviously, because you can only be disturbed by something that you feel is not right. Is that all right? Then you can enjoy walking down the street more often. Now, anybody else? Yes, this lady, your name? Rosie. Rosie? Yes, Rosie.
How do you heal things from the past?
How do I heal things from the past? Now, that's very simple. We'll just find that out. Now, as you put it, as you first expressed it as the scientific mind, you objectified, right? You said you, when you should have said I. Now we got some intelligence there. How do I heal my problem of the past? I can then ask you an intelligent question which will start us off in the right direction.
How do I heal things from the past?
Yes, I'm going to ask you an intelligent question. What is it in the past that needs to be healed in your life?
Well,
No, what we could say... No, not I could say, what is the problem?
Pain from childhood?
No, now be careful of the red herrings, because the scientists are always throwing red herrings around. I'm going to ask you so we get rid of the red herrings, and I'm not being critical, right? You can't help but think like a scientist and throw red herrings around. I'm going to ask you the question, what in your past troubles you the most so that you wake up in the morning or feel disturbed many times during your life about something specific in the past?
It's not specific.
Now, it is specific.
Not in my memory.
In yourself, yourself is your memory, and that is something that we cut off because we don't want to face it. But it doesn't go away because it keeps vibrating, and that's why you're asking the question, because there is something down there that is not healed, that you are holding on to some person or event in the past that you know about but don't want to face. And I'm not accusing you, right? So what is it? Man, woman, love affair, hurt, betrayal. Don't be too quick to answer, because that suggests that you might not be looking deep enough. I'm asking you, in your life, where is the pain of hurt that you are...
I've looked already very deeply. I spent lots of years doing it.
No, you haven't been with me before. You know, all the years that you've wasted trying to look for it, I'm going to get it now. All those years. I want you to tell me where you are disturbed in your life, please. That's it. Give it to me. I know you are disturbed in your life because you asked a question about it. Yourself asked the question, so I'm having an intelligent conversation with yourself. Where are you disturbed in your life, Rosie? Who is he? What event? What is it? Now, you see, you can't get out of that one because you are disturbed. I know you're disturbed in your life. Something is disturbing you in your life. I know it. You know it. So let's have it. See how it works when you're honest. Give it to me, Rosie. Come on. Don't do that. I know it's very difficult to say it. And what is it? Who's disturbing you in your life, or what event? Now, you know. If I asked any of you that question, you see, you would have to be honest, because I know that you know. No good shaking your head and throwing red herrings around, because I know and you know. You want to say it, Rosie? If you don't, it's okay, but I want you to see that you already know what you say you don't know. A person or event is troubling you in your life. Would you at least say, yes, it is, if it is? You don't even have to say what it is.
It's my own lack of joy. It's not any.
Right, good. No, that's okay by me. As long as I can get a little bit, a thread, you know. You've got to get the hair of the elephant.
Situation I can put down.
Right, we'll get it. If I can get the hair of the elephant, you know, I say that there's an elephant buried under the front lawn, under all the lawn and the grass, and there's one hair sticking up in all that grass. If I can find that one hair, I'll get the whole problem of the elephant. So, you said, I forget what you said then. What did you say, please? You said something just then. What was it? I said I had to... lack of joy. Now, lack of joy comes from not enjoying my life. That's what lack of joy is. You know, there's a deadness. Now, deadness, which is lack of joy, which everybody has in some form or other, some of the time, comes from suppressing some emotion of unhappiness or hurt that is down there in my subconscious self. Now, I mentally suppress that and don't look at it because it's too painful to look at, because it's emotion. So, the trouble is, though, as I suppress the emotion, I suppress the life in me. So, Rosie, this is you. Both hands together and pushing down, keeping it down, so you get a feeling of, there's no joy in my life. Now, there's two ways we can address this in the moment. Have you seen what event in the past you are holding on to where you were hurt, betrayed, left, broken-hearted, where you are resentful about what someone did to you, where you are angry about what someone did to you, but you know you shouldn't be angry about it, so you suppress it down there? What? Oh, you're shaking. You're nodding your head. Tell me. No, not situations.
Childhood situation.
Childhood situation. What was the situation? Situations is a red herring. Situation is not. What is it? Who did it?
My parents?
Which one?
No.
What did they do?
They left me with strangers when I was a baby.
They left you as strangers when you were a baby. Now, does this disturb you? Would this disturb you when you were a baby, or does this disturb you now? I suspect it disturbs you now. I suspect the baby's not disturbed.
Illness has been there a very long time.
I suspect that it disturbs you now. I suspect that that's a problem in you. Are your mother and father alive?
It's always been there.
Don't red herring me. Are your mother and father alive?
One of them is.
One of them is.
Alive. My mother.
Now, I suspect that you haven't forgiven your mother. Would that be true?
Not consciously. Consciously, I don't think of it like that.
No, but I suspect that you haven't forgiven your mother. When I'm talking about it now, what's your feeling?
I didn't even know she'd done it until, long after.
Who told you that she did it?
She did.
You see, you are hurt by what she did to you. What is your relationship with your mother now?
Intellectual?
Intellectual, yeah. Because you can't really relate to each other. Because you haven't forgiven her for what she did to you. Does she tell you that she didn't love you?
I don't think she knows how to love.
No, but that doesn't matter. Did she tell you she didn't love you?
No.
Right. Do you love her? I suspect you love her, and that's the problem. I suspect you love her. And I suggest that you go and speak to her. I suggest that you forgive her from your whole being, that you be the woman that you are, big enough as the mother of all life on earth, which one day you may realize. I suggest that you draw upon this and go to your mother and say, Mother, I've got something to say to you. I want to tell you that I have been troubled in me since I heard or felt that you left me when I was a child.
No, I've travelled long before that.
Well, why don't you do this? You go and tell your mother that you hold nothing against her. Just go and tell her that. I hold nothing against you. I have been troubled, Mother, because I have been disturbed by the fact that you left me. If you mentioned that to me, didn't you? It is a disturbance in you, Rosie. If you were troubled long before that, you better deal with the mother that you can now. Then if you come to me again, I'll tell you how to deal with your father if he is dead, and we try to discover what he did. You've got to deal with every one of them, one by one, now, to get rid of the past. Because the past always repeats itself in the present. And you can get at anything in the present. You don't have to go back and introspect right back there, because that will make you very unhappy and achieve nothing whatever except temporary relief. The thing is, in your life now, is to be free in your life now with your mother, because you have no real communication with your mother. As you said, it's intellectual. How are you? What have you been doing? Did you have a good day? Or did you go where you're going for holidays and all this rubbish? That's lack of communication. That's lack of love and lack of life. So that's an area of your life that is dead, which really underneath you would love to have opened up. Now, whether you can open up your mother or not is doubtful. But one thing is sure, that you can open yourself up where you have been blocked by telling your mother, Mother, I hold nothing against you. I suspect I've been holding something against you because you left me, but I know you did your best, Mother. Whatever you did for me, you looked after me as much as you could, and you gave me to someone else because you had to do that. Did you know that, Rosie? Did you know that your mother gave you to someone else to look after because she had to?
I don't hold any conscious resentment towards her.
Then who is it? Somebody you are unhappy with, Rosie. I will have to leave it there. Rosie, tonight you will look at this, and it is likely that you will see the answer. Somewhere in your life you are covering up a hurt or a pain towards someone in the past, in the present. Somewhere. And you are trying not to be resentful. You are trying not to be angry, and in that you are suppressing the life in you. So the joy has gone out of your life only because it's suppressed. Right? You look at that. So I trust that is of help to everybody who's listening here, because that is what we have to do. And it is very difficult to get it because the self does not want to look at itself. It is too painful. And so it says, no, I can't see. It forgets everything. It has a blank. Rather than face it, it actually will put a blank over it. But we have to be able. The freedom comes from being able to look across my entire life and see what is making me unhappy. This is the first freedom, to be able to have the honesty to see, where am I being made unhappy in my life now? We don't want to admit that it's my partner. My God, does it mean I've got to leave him or her? What about the house? What about the children? If I'm honest about that, my God. So, no, I'm happy with my partner. Everything's fine. We have no problem. But is it the truth? I must face the truth to be free. Something about the truth shall set you free. It would set you free of yourself. For the only thing that I can be free of is myself. All right then, did somebody else have a question? Someone new to me? Yes, wait a minute, you've asked a question. Someone else who will come back if you are. Roger? It's Roger, isn't it? Yes, Roger, ask your question.
I find it very hard to deal with two people who've written damaging letters about myself to other people. The other people have shared the letters with me.
Well, Roger, before you go any further, when anyone wants to show you a letter, as soon as you say, excuse me, rip it up and that's it, right?
It's a business situation where those other people work with me.
They work with you?
Yes.
They work with you?
So we work as a group.
Okay. And so, can't you go up like an intelligent person to someone and say, you have written a letter about me to somebody, and may I inquire how I can be of help to you or assistance to you that would make you write that about me? Wouldn't you? And what do they want of you, Roger?
They want my job.
They want your job. And so, you can go up and say, have they told you they want your job?
They haven't told me. They just used the telephone and letters to smear my reputation.
And who are they smearing it to?
To other people I work with,
to your
parents of children that I teach at the school.
Okay. Well, could you go along and just say to them, have you written a letter smearing my reputation? Do you really want to do that to me? But if you do, that's your right to do that. But I just want to ask you, do you really want to do that?
The difficulty for me is that it hasn't been directed to me. It's been directed about me. And so my difficulty is that maybe because it's someone else's letter, I don't really have a right to talk about a letter that's addressed to someone else.
Then you shouldn't have read it, should you? You were curious, you fell for it and you disturbed yourself, and now yourself won't give you any relief because you were curious. Many people will talk about you behind your back. God knows how many others you haven't heard about. Okay? You go up to your boss and say, yeah, well, I hear that people have been maligning my reputation or whatever it is. I either do the job well and I'm worthy of employment or not. You know? So, if you hear about it, just judge me on what I do. Right? Okay. But don't be curious about what people say about you. Those people suffer great hurt inside themselves. That's why they're looking for something to assuage the hurt inside of them. So people are cruel because they have to be. They can't help it. And you can't condone it but you can't judge it, because everybody's self is unhappy. The self consisting of every bit of unhappiness that we've ever had, every hurt and pain, that's all the self consists of. Now, if I have hurt and pain in me, what am I always moved to do? I'm always moved to give myself to someone, aren't I? I think we're all moved to give myself to someone, aren't we? Now, when myself wants to give itself to somebody, if I'm right in defining self as unhappiness, when I give myself to somebody, I make them unhappy, which is the basis of every argument that you have ever had, because arguments consist of me trying to give myself to you and you trying to give yourself to me. And that's very painful for us both. But myself enjoys that because myself, being pain, enjoys pain. The more pain it can get, the unhappier it gets, and the unhappier it gets, the happier it gets. When we start to introduce love, real presence into myself, and I start to confront myself with this love that I am, this honesty and truth that I am, myself shrivels up and screams, what's happening to me? I'm confused. My God, this is an awful pain. Because myself does not like to be fronted with love and truth and honesty. So everyone will feel, I can't stand this. And that's what happens with the love of God. When we hear the mystics of old and read their stories of the so-called saints crying for God, oh the pain of being separate from you, oh how I wish to only disappear into thee, but the pain is purely myself, my willfulness, because I am not apart from God. No one here is apart from the vast God, the vast woman or the vast noble man. Nobody is apart from him or her. Nobody. But yourself thinks it is, because yourself has got pain in it, and there is no pain in God. There is no pain in me. There is no resentment in me. There is no guilt in me. There is no guilt, no jealousy in me. All those things are in myself. So, when myself is confronted with all this absence of those things, myself feels as though it is not loved. When people want to love themselves, they go and get unhappy. And then their self feels, it feels acknowledged. So they go and tell their sad story to someone, and the self then speaks through their brains and gets a feeling of existence. And it loves to speak about how unhappy it is. Whereas, why not say, what a beautiful day it is? Why not say, I am absence of unhappiness? Why not say, I will not have unhappiness in me? And if you want to be unhappy, I have no intention of trying to change what you enjoy. So, I don't want to teach you anything. Please don't get that. But if you come and ask me a question, I will endeavour to help you to get rid of your unhappiness. But if you want to tell me your sad story, no, I can't hear that, because that will only feed your unhappiness. So, please don't be offended, but I don't have any sad stories in me, and so I'll see you later if we meet again. Right? So do you want to hear someone's sad story? Do you really think you're helping them by listening to their sad story? Do you know when to say, don't tell me your sad story, please? I don't want to hear it. I'm not curious. Or are you trying to help somebody by listening to their sad story that has no end? For when you get rid of that little bit, they'll have another bit over here. Thing to do is to get rid of your own sad story, huh? Yeah. To thine own self be true first. Then you will be true to everything. Now, anybody else got a question with what we've said so far? Yes, this gentleman, your name?
My name's Russell.
Yes, Russell.
And you here. How can me overcome myself fear?
How can me overcome myself fear? Self's name, apart from being pain, is fear. The other name for self is fear. So how can I overcome my fear, right? Right. What are you afraid of, Russell?
Not having sufficient income when I retire.
Now, not having sufficient income when I retire. This
To live a comfortable lifestyle.
Comfortable, convenient life. Right, Russell?
Right.
Good, right. This morning I was reading The Open Road, and I noticed that one of the officials, we lost an official there last week who died 1 week before his retirement. Now Russell's beautiful life, I don't know how many years you got to go, 20 years?
No, at least 45.
45. Before he retires, let's say he's got a few years to go. He is ruining his beautiful life now, thinking about some sort of heaven that may or may not eventuate. Did you ever hear of anything more absurd, Russell?
Sorry, I mean, I've got 45 years more, at least 45 years more living. But
What do you mean? You might die tonight, Russell. Where'd you get? Yeah, but why did you say such a stupid statement? I mean, really, we've got to be intelligent here. You might die tonight, I thought.
And that's fine.
No, that's not fine at all. No, that's not fine. The thing is to see the absurdity of your statement. If you... nobody knows when they're going to die. If you are making preparations for 25 years hence, you are and you are disturbed enough to mention at the meeting about not having enough money, you are ruining your beautiful life now by having an emotion in you of unhappiness.
Correct.
Now, what's going to happen, Russell? I'll tell you what happens. That emotion of unhappiness is going to become between you and the woman that you love, or if you are endeavouring to find a woman to love, it's going to come between you. Did you know that? I'll tell you the reason why. Because we are psychic creatures. And as our self is how we vibrate. And no woman truly wants to be with a man who is unhappy. Otherwise you draw to yourself a woman who has a similar amount of unhappiness in her, and then you both make each other, working off that unhappiness, you make each other unhappy. So your endeavour to love one another is already reduced because you are vibrating psychically with a wanting that is not real. Did you know? Are you with a woman?
Yes.
Then you will find that you have something. But yeah, very happily. Is she here?
No, she's not.
Well, if she was here, I would ask her, not you, how happy you are together, right? Because very happily, because you have this anxiety about the future that is in you, therefore your woman is overlooking this anxiety and not speaking to you about it. It is making her unhappy. Did you know that?
Yes. We speak on it. Yeah. We've identified it.
So you are not very happy together. That's a bit of
every
a...
other area,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
happy together except this one.
Well-
It's causing me pain, therefore it causes her.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So that's how it works, Russell. Now, you better get rid of it. You better walk down by the sea tonight, throw your notepad away, and say, I am life, and I live for the moment now, and if I want money at any time, I will look to see what resources I have to get it, and I will then take action to get it, and if I can't take any action, I'll forget it, and if I can take action, then I won't have to think about it. Right? Action, Russell, purifies. Nothing else. Okay. Does someone else have a question? This gentleman, your name?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel? Yes, Emmanuel.
Yes. You know better than anybody else that newspapers are full of rubbish, yeah?
Yes, I probably know better than anyone else in the world. Yes.
And you say it quite often. Why do you read newspapers?
Why do I read newspapers? To find out how stupid everybody is. I read newspapers. If I am moved to, I'll watch a video. I don't watch television. That's just too much for me. But I am fully present in the world of children, of people. I fly in aeroplanes. I own a motor car. I pay the rates, the rent. You know, I'm utterly and completely here, just like you are, an ordinary man. But I am not attached to reading the newspapers. I'm not attached to anything. That is the problem. Newspaper men think that they're speaking the truth, think that they're really looking for the truth. Well, where is the truth? In me. What's there to write about? Nothing. So newspaper men are men with a scientific mind. They objectify the truth. And you cannot objectify the truth, because the truth is utterly subjective in me. But there is a world, an objective world, and I walk through it like you, but I am not attached to it or anything in it. That's the secret. Such as if you love a woman and you are attached to her. There's two words there you'll notice: love and attachment. It is wonderful to love a woman if you are a man. But if you are attached to her as well as loving her, she will give you hell. For a woman, in truth, is God. And God will give every man and woman hell until they give up their attachment and just love. So why does everybody suffer? Because they are attached to love.
Is there an opposite to attachment?
Yeah, detachment.
Detachment, can that be a problem?
Detachment, no problem. Detachment is the truth. Now, if you're attached to your body, you'll be afraid of dying, won't you? If you are detached from your body, meaning, I love my body, I am my body is love. Only to me, not to anyone else unless they see it. So, love is detached. Love is attached to nothing. God, for instance, is not attached to the child that's just been knocked down and killed down the road and the mother is screaming on the footpath. God is not attached to that. God is love. And people say, how can there be a God when such things happen? Because God is not attached to existence. And that's love. And that's a love greater than any personal human love could ever imagine or conceive of. But it's the truth.
Every time I fell in love with a woman, she got attached to me, and that scares me, and I run away.
Every time I fall in love with a woman, that scares me. As she becomes attached to me, that scares me, and I run away. We got to examine this, though. Is he using the right words? Emmanuel. Every time I love a woman, she becomes attached to me. Are you sure she just doesn't love you? And her love frightens the living daylights out of you. Are you sure that's not the problem? That you are afraid to love woman, or afraid of woman's love. Are you sure that's not the problem? Possible, yes, I suspect it is. I think the old red herring department's being used here quite a lot today. Love her. Do not be afraid of her love. Work together to get rid of the emotion or any attachment or fears and projections that she puts onto you. Love her. Be honest with her. And she to you the same. That's what love's about. One to the other, to get rid of this broken heart that is in our bodies, to get rid of this terrible attachment to myself instead of loving me. Do not be afraid of woman's love, but indeed it will make you suffer while you have self in you, as you will make her suffer. But that's the reason for love between man and woman, is to get rid of the self, the selfishness. For wherever there's self, there's selfishness. And that's all that suffers. The only thing that ever suffers is myself. Nothing else. That brings me to another heading I had here to talk about, I think. Yeah. The pain of trying to get rid of pain makes more pain. The pain of trying to get rid of pain makes more pain. Now let's talk about psychological pain. I have a broken heart. Let us say. I feel the terrible pain of the broken heart. I say I don't want this pain, which means I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to push it away. I say I don't want it. The very fact of not wanting it, of trying to get rid of it, causes more pain, more anguish. So I go and weep more. So I'm reminded more of the beloved's face that has left me, and I weep and weep again. And I say, I don't want this pain, it's awful. Awful. And I fight it, and I cause more pain. Because whenever you fight pain, you cause more pain. What do I do? Why am I suffering? Is the question. Why do I have a broken heart? That's the question that it seems nobody asks. And the answer is, I have a broken heart because I became attached to that man or woman I loved. I thought that our love would go on forever. I assumed that we would be together forever. I believed what he said or she said. This love is so extraordinary that we will be together forever. When the truth is, you can't believe anybody. And so you believed that your love was forever of this other body. The truth is that love is forever. Love never leaves anybody. Never has left anybody, never will leave anybody. But then, love is always inside of me, isn't it? And if I have sufficient love inside of me, then by the law of life I will manifest, if it is right for me, I will manifest, say in the case of a man, I will manifest woman for me to love in the flesh. If I don't have enough love in me, I will still manifest woman to give me hell until I learn to love rightly and have enough love in me to get rid of myself. The only reason I have a broken heart is that I was ignorant enough of life as it is to think that two bodies can stay together, that having fallen in love, that's the end of it. It's done. End of the story. When the reality is that when we come together, particularly when we make love for the first time, that is the beginning of all the problems that come into love making, into love between man and woman. The action of making love itself, the very consummation of it, which apparently people think is in the wedding ceremony, the consummation of the love is supposed to be the end of it all. That's done, is the very beginning of the problem. You will soon love the original love, the natural love, out of your bodies. The love that has been protecting your bodies when you first meet each other, that is natural love, the love of God that brought you together and you couldn't stay out of bed and you just loved and loved one another for a few weeks. You run out of that. When you run out of that protective love, you then have to face yourself. The unhappiness in the man and the woman that starts to creep into the relationship. That's what love is for, to disturb myself, to bring up my emotions and pains and wrong attachments, so that I and you together, my love, that we can get rid of this stuff that has come between us, that has been hiding down there in the depths. When we first met, I pushed it all down. I was such a jolly fellow. I was such a nice man that I kept all this unhappiness in me down. But it doesn't take long, it will come up, because unhappiness always is a spoiler and tries to get into any situation which is good. And of course, as soon as the bad gets into good, it destroys the good. So the reason for love, by the divine process that is life on this earth, is for you and I, my love, to get rid of ourselves, so that then we can love one another as it was in the beginning, when there was no self between us. And that is the mystical love that you are engaged in and being with me, the speaker. That is what we are doing. Now let us go into me again, please. This is the place of refreshment and light as truth. So breathe in and out 2 or 3 times into the diaphragm. Be relaxed and easy, because that keeps the self steady. And drop all the tensions down. Now, using the first mode of my intelligence, which is my clarity, my perception, my attention, I look into me. Now I am looking into the life in my body. This is life before it has any form. So down here inside of me, there is no thought forms, no imagination, nothing. And if I can feel my mind trying to imagine my body, I can feel it, let's say, at the perimeter of the black, out there somewhere. I will feel the mind trying, or the monitor trying to speak, trying to deliver some judgment or observation on what is happening. I will feel it trying to do that. Or I will feel it trying to imagining my leg or my arm. I must not fight that. I must just keep focused on the center of the black. And then the other cannot come in, cannot overwhelm me. But I must keep consciously focused on nothing, and then nothing can touch me. This I ask you, or suggest that you practice whenever you are reminded to, when you are absent from the speaker. This is the acknowledgement of the Most High, or the most profound, inside your body. This is the acknowledgement of the power that is me. Now, let us use the second mode of my intelligence by which I register existence, and that is feeling. I now consciously feel if there is any good in me, meaning, is it good to be here in me, in this stillness and silence? Can I feel that? A very subtle feeling it is. Do I feel a relief, a blessed relief of not having to try, to not have to want anything, to just be able to sink down into this extraordinary place inside of me? It's like coming home. And that is good. What a relief it is to be able to sink into this place. And the beauty of it is that it is me. It is not something I'm imagining or thinking about. It is a direct being of me. Immediate. Now. It is a good feeling, or a right feeling, to be here in me. Now stay with me. Don't think. Consciously focus on me with clarity or feeling. Sink into me. There is no end to the depth of me. I just keep sinking deeper and deeper every moment that I am doing this. I am becoming more profound, in touch with a finer, more intensive energy of life. And the beauty of it again is it is me. How intimately beautiful it is that such stillness and silence, such reality is in me. And I am doing this now. I am being this. Do not doubt. Please do not allow your mind to move and doubt. For the mind cannot come here, only the intelligence. That which is without reflection, that which is immediate being now, only that can reach this place. And the more I do this and practice this in my daily life, the more power I have to face my external existence, to be honest, and to address the difficulties there with a new confidence and authority. For this that I am looking into and being is the place of power, the place of life, pure before it takes form in my brain. Now when you are at home or away from the speaker, remember to practice this next exercise. Being in me like this, I am using my consciousness. My awareness is in the senses, and that's all right. But my consciousness is focused on nothing in me, although my senses are still operating. But I am focused in consciousness on nothing that is me. Now, to practice being with me, continue to focus on me and open the eyes and enter the world of awareness. This is a totally different world. Here is where people get old. Here is where people die. People being bodies. In there, in the stillness and silence, there's no death, no age, no time. In there, I lose all concept of time. But my awareness out here is in time. So you young ladies that I see 3 of you sitting here, you are in a very precious place. I presume that you are in your teens, is that so? Your early teens? You are in a very precious place. You are in touch with your senses, which are fine and very acute and beautiful, because you have not gathered the burden that all the adults around you, including your parents, have gathered. Do you notice how heavy they are with problems and difficulties? You notice that? They have worries. They have learnt how to worry. You have not learnt how to worry yet. You are not long out of the womb of woman, which is the womb of God. Woman's womb is where all life comes out of, and it symbolizes the place of God, where life comes from. You are not as long out of that as your mother and father, but every day, everybody, including your society and your friends, is going to teach you how to worry. Although you have no need to worry now, because you are so much in touch with the beauty of this glorious earth through your innocent senses. The people that you meet and the circumstances are going to make you take on the burden of worry and problems. But I trust you will come to me when you are moved to. When the burdens start to descend on you because this society will put them on you and make you worry. One day, if I am still around, I trust you come to me, and I will refresh you and speak of love and truth and the senses that you are at present so much in touch with, which get burdened, covered over with the pain of trying to cope with existence. And it all comes from not being true to love. So you are going to go into the tunnel of love. The tunnel of love is fraught with burden, worry, broken hearts, because we have not been taught to love without getting attached. So my advice to you is, if you fall in love with a man, don't believe that it's going to last forever. Love is forever, but you've got to work very hard for two bodies to continue to love one another. Because the man that you're going to love is going to have hurts and pains inside of him from his past. And after the glorious meeting and the first loving weeks passes, his moodiness, his anger, his frustrations are going to rise in him. And you are going to wonder what has happened to this beautiful love we had. So it's best to get it straight in the beginning. I am here to enjoy being in love. And for that reason, I am not going to give you my anger, my moods, or my emotion, for that will make you unhappy and me unhappy. So, my man, will you say the same to me? You see, they're the real wedding vows if you want a wedding. But you never heard anybody say that. I will never get angry with you. I will never be moody again. I will never be resentful or carry resentment in my heart. You never hear anybody saying that, do you? Because it would take too much honesty, you see. For a man who is free of unhappiness, only he can truly love thee. But then, as you get older, you're going to have this in you too. So when you love a man, the thing to do is to be honest and know that you are together to get rid of the unhappiness out of each of you by being honest. And that's what love is about on this planet. And the more that you get rid of your unhappiness between each other, the more you feel a oneness, a union of love. Okay? Righto. Nobody misses out. Everybody has to go through it. Yes. right anger. No, not really, there's not right anger. But let's say there are situations in which there will be a force come up in the body, which is what I think you're referring to as right anger. But anger is distinguished by my being attached to it. That means I can't let, if I have what you call a right anger in me, I should be able any moment to drop it and say, what did you say? Oh, what a lovely flower that is. Let me smell those flowers you've got. Yes, that's beautiful. And then come back and be rightfully angry again, and then interrupt that when the child looks as though it's going to fall over. Be careful. Be careful now. Let's take it steady, right, and then come back. Because that is lack of attachment or momentum of anger.
And if you do have something like that, where I can be like that sometimes with my child, that's what I'm talking about. Is that damaging to the child if you're angry in that way?
Yes, what you should do first of all is, why are you angry with the child? That's the first question.
I'm angry when my authority is threatened, when I feel that my authority is threatened. I've noticed that's mainly...
I'm angry when I feel my authority is threatened. And usually that is when you are being manipulated by the child's emotions, that you can't get a handle on it because the emotions are so slippery that they're manipulating you and will not face you. So that's what happens. All you can do is endeavour not to be attached to your anger, to try to find out, what does the child want? That's the first thing. What do you want that is making you behave in this way? What do you want? Now, often emotion doesn't know what it wants. So the child doesn't even know what it wants. All it wants is to be angry or demanding or manipulative, because that's the nature of emotion, which every child gathers. But you, in your wisdom, have to eventually get the child, even as soon as it comes out of that, or as soon as possible, by talking to the child as I am speaking to you, because there's no difference, we're all children really. Say, look, if you are unhappy, you have to be unhappy for some reason that you can express. Otherwise, it's not real, and it's not on in this house. The child has to be made responsible. At present, children can go through you'll see them in the prams, in the shops, you'll see children. And then they'll walk around, and then they'll suddenly scream and cry again. No reason. Or they'll just keep crying, and the parents will tell them to shut up or pick them up and carry around. This means, this is the unhappiness creeping into the child, the burden creeping into the child, which creeps into everybody in this existence. And it needs to express itself to get a sense of force or existence. So this child will automatically cry out, so that the unhappiness gets a sense of its possession of the brain, so that it can use the senses and cry out. It then will cry for no reason, and so the parent, in its ignorance, accepts this. Whereas the child must be raised in truth and fairness and justice, and it must be told, though, if you ever cry, it has to be for some reason. You must always tell me what the reason is, and I will do everything I can to solve it for you. Nobody can cry without a reason. Now, if you start teaching a child that from the beginning, when this unhappiness starts to possess it, which possesses everybody in this existence, more or less, the child, through your instruction, will be vigilant and be looking for a reason for it. And it is likely to say, because you will have explained to it, there's no reason, Mummy. I just feel it in me. There's no reason. then I can say to the child, well, now you know what it is. It is the unhappy one trying to enter you. So well done. Now, let's get rid of it. Come here, and I'll give you a cuddle. What are we going to do now? You know? That's raising a child, rightly. But if you allow it to just cry for no reason, you will get exasperated. And there will be no communication between you and your child in that sense. Just the same as no woman gets emotional for no reason. It is a common thing for a man to think that woman gets emotional for no reason. But there's always a reason why a woman's emotional. It means she's unhappy. Am I making her unhappy? That's the question. Or are you, woman, making yourself unhappy? That's the only two possibilities. We have to arrive at the truth, don't we, between us? In that way, you will feel at least that you are not being ignored. So speaking to these young girls again, what you are going into is a man-run world where when you get emotional, man is going to dismiss you and not listen to you. He's going to think that you're just an emotional woman, whereas really you will be emotional about something. He does not love you enough for what he's doing, and he will not listen to you, because that's the sort of world you're going into, where man thinks that all women are emotional, and he's not doing anything to cause it. So in living the truth of love, a man has to be able to say to a woman, what am I doing to you that is making you emotional? Not just accuse you of being emotional. That's love. And then you have to love enough to look inside and see whether you are carrying some pain about your father, what your father did to you, and putting that emotion onto your loving man. That often happens. You've got to be very vigilant in this business of love so that you can enjoy it. Okay. Now, did anybody else have a question, please, about anything that I've said, particularly the new people, because it is a different teaching, isn't it? That it focuses on your life, not on your belief, on the circumstances of your life. Can I be of assistance to anybody? Pardon? Yes, your name again? Yes, Robert.
To be truly happy, you must work out into prior problems. Can you be happy?
No, you cannot be happy. You have to get rid of this dream of happiness. You can never be happy. What you must aim for is absence of unhappiness. Doesn't that make more sense?
Yes, but you must get the unhappiness, or can you just say...
No, you can never be happy for long. You can never be happy for long, Robert. Happiness goes up and then you'll be happy tomorrow, because nobody can be happy for long. But you can be absence of unhappiness. Can't you? Like now. Aren't you absence of unhappiness now?
I felt happier. So
Pardon?
I have felt happier.
Oh yes, and if you took some alcohol, you'd feel even better. Or if you took, if you won $1 million, you'd feel even happier. But if you were absence of unhappiness, then it wouldn't matter what happened to you or what you won, would it? It would be a constant state. Because the only problem is to be unhappy. If you're absence of unhappiness, you don't have anything else to want, do you? But the whole world, because it objectifies, it's always looking for happiness and never ever finding it. Tell me who found it. Well, I know you. It doesn't matter where you look. It doesn't matter where you look. It's not going to be true. Nobody has found happiness. But it is possible to find absence of unhappiness. Because happiness doesn't last. Depends on some event. Right? Okay. So what you've got to do is get rid of the problems in your life by taking action. Responsible action. Okay? Right. Now I was mentioning about pain earlier, and I mentioned that you should not fight emotional pain. Because if you fight it, you increase it. What you do is look to see what you're emotional about, what the pain is, and where you are not facing life as it is, such as the broken heart that I described, where a broken heart means that you assumed that everything was going to be all right, when it's obviously not going to be all right. You've just got to keep working at this love between man and woman. You have to keep eliminating yourself, getting rid of the questioner, getting rid of the monitor. There's nothing to understand, and yet at the same time you have to be able to see where the situation is not honest, and you have to see, take the action, whatever you do, to address that. And that's the secret. You must not be afraid to address the situation, but at the same time you must be careful of putting your unhappiness on the situation and think that that's addressing it. What you have to address in the first instance is, why am I questioning this? Am I loved? If I am loved, what is the problem? Is the lack of love in me, or is the lack of love in the situation? That's where you've got to have a clear mind and a straightforward mind to see what is the truth here. That is honesty, and that is love as right communication. I thank you all for being with me. We've reached the end of the afternoon, and I trust that anything that was the truth for you in your experience that you heard today, that you now go and live. For nothing is the truth unless we live it. Thank you all. Okay, so if you need to go, I understand. I'll just talk for a little while longer. Is that all right, Ian? That was just the recording has ended now. It's got to go on a particular tape. So it's got to have a certain time. 2 tapes, I think it is. So if you have to go, I understand. Bye, John. The point about the day is that when you come to be with me, the speaker, the important thing is that I am a mirror. I reflect to you the most important thing in your life, and that is the energy inside that body, which is me, what you call me. As I say, when you go out into that world out there, you are going to be looking into a moving mirror. Things happening all the time. Nothing still. And that excites the mind. And the mind, or intelligence, the mind as the intelligence, starts to move. That is why people meditate. They go inside and try. Meditation is the endeavour to stop the restlessness of the self that reacts to the mirror of the world and then gets restless itself and needs entertainment, something to do this, do that, reflecting the restlessness or the ever-changing scene that's happening outside. When you come to be with me, the speaker, you will notice that we are very focused, very centered on the one place where stillness is, inside of me. We are not focused on the self, although in focusing on me, we actually see what is disturbing ourselves. That is the value of being here. You do not lose your intelligence in yourself because you are focused on me. That gives you the power to be able to look into yourself without becoming attached to it and starting to think. It also gives you the power, in looking into me, to be one-pointed and still, so that you can then look into your life of circumstances and see where you are unhappy and what action can be taken to make it right. So the more you come and be with me, I will always reflect to you a nourishment that comes from the deepest place inside of you. That place is always there for you to re-nourish yourself. But you will tend to go into meditation. And what we are doing here is not meditation. What we are doing here is consciously being me. Meditation is a form of trance where you eventually go sideways. Here, you consciously keep the focus on me. Now it takes enormous energy to do that, but the more you practice that, the more conscious you become, the more you then enjoy being your life. For instance, your eyes are open now. I trust that even while I'm speaking, that your consciousness is focused on the stillness and silence that is me. I trust that you are being in both places at once, in the world of awareness and in the consciousness of me. Two hemispheres of the one cosmos, the one existence. This is not meditation because you do not have your eyes closed. You are fully conscious. No one is possessing you. There is no thought in you, for thought is possession by some entity called yourself, which is unhappy. You are fully conscious. You are open. You are still. This is the state of the Buddha. You are in that state. If you will only do this. Look out of your eyes and your ears, your senses are working. No need to bother about them, they're working. The point is, am I consciously focused on me? That's the missing ingredient from all the people in the world. To be consciously now, at this very moment, looking into me, while aware here. If I lose touch with me, I start to get unhappy. I start to make problems of my life. I start to get confused. The only thing that will keep me nourished from the vital psychic world of purity, which is me, is me. I must stay in touch with me. Then I can live my life through my senses and enjoy my life through my senses. But when I'm in myself, when I'm considering myself, how can I enjoy what I'm seeing? If I'm considering how unhappy I am, how can I possibly enjoy walking along the beach? I cannot be with the beach and the sky and the sea if I am thinking, or if I am depressed. The question is, why am I depressed? You must be honest enough to find it, to find the answer. Why am I depressed? It's no good saying I don't know. Not where I come from, because I know you do know. And you know you do know. And the things that saying I don't know is an avoidance. That is the self. The self never wants to face the truth. It always wants to avoid facing the truth of the situation. So when you start to face the truth of the situation and get your life right, you then have more power, more attention to come into me. The more you're able to come into me and go deeper into me, the more power and attention you have to get your life right. And so it becomes an interaction between two worlds, which leads you to less and less unhappiness. All right then, I trust I have communicated to you this day and imparted something that is the truth to you. But I say again, if anything that you have heard is the truth in your experience, then please go and live it. Don't think about it. Don't reflect on it. Go and live it. For only what I live is the truth. Anything else is a good book, an entertaining program, or daydreaming. What I live, that is the truth. So if you say I love you to anyone, make sure that you know what the meaning of the word love is. That it is not just a wanting them to give you something, a security for your own pains and hurts. For where I come from, love is to give. Love is giving. Who did you give to today? Who did you give to this morning? Who did you give sweet words to that were right and true about the beauty of life? Who did you give a smile to? Not because you made up the smile, but because you couldn't help but smile, even if it was only to smile at a tree, or the sparrows, or the sweetness of the sky. Did you give that? Or were you too busy thinking about yourself? So love begins with giving the one thing that everybody has to give. What I call my sweet nature. And every one of you has my sweet nature. But the self wants to consider itself and only wants to give when it suits itself. What I have to do is live a life of giving. The one thing that everybody has to give. My sweet nature. It doesn't mean smiling everywhere. It doesn't mean laughing everywhere. It means walking down the street or being where you are without considering yourself. That's the natural state. As soon as you consider yourself, you are going to be unhappy, and it will not be long before you make someone else unhappy. So please, what is greater than myself? My senses, my eyes, my ears, my tongue, my touch feeling, that is greater than myself. Because that is what I've got. That is my body. And my body is connected with the earth. And the earth is beautiful, isn't it? And my body always enjoys the earth. The sun, the sky, the sea, the sparrows, the birds, the air that I breathe. My body always enjoys that. That is my sensory body and my sensory existence. Myself hasn't got much time for that at all. Myself wants to think about things. Now, can you think about the sky when the sky's there to be had, whether it's night or day? What is this thinking thing? What is this thinking thing that we indulge? That instead of doing it, like making love, sex is thinking about making love. Sex is thinking about the private parts. Sex is thinking. Now, who wants to think about making love? All you got to do is go and make it. Then it's not sex. If there's no thought, there's no sex. There's just the making of love. And then there's no attachment. When you make love, you don't make attachment. When you make sex, you make attachment and you make fear. So sex, the other name for sex, is fear. Sex is afraid of love, terrified of it. That's why sex is always thinking about love, because if you think about love, you don't have to make it. Right? The making of love is the most beautiful and yet the most trying thing in this existence between man and woman. Because most people are afraid to love. As soon as you make love, you disturb the fear in the body. That fear rises up as depression, guilt, questioning, unhappiness. So be ready for it. When you make love, the love travels down, or really travels up from me, because you make love in me, and the me, it travels up from me into myself and disturbs myself, because myself is unhappiness and love is communication of love, and self runs from love. So in an endeavour to get away from love, it will come up into my brain and make me unhappy. So watch that when you make love. Know that it is very vulnerable. Then you will have to face any self that arises. But no, it wasn't the love that made you unhappy. It was the love that disturbed the self that was already there. Your unhappiness that was already there, which you have to deal with, to get rid of, because the object of making love is to disturb yourself, so that you can deal with it. So you see.
Shouldn't that be having sex?
Pardon?
Shouldn't that be having sex instead of making love?
Have it.
Last sentence you said. I thought that should be having sex. That gives the.
Now, if you make love, it disturbs yourself. Love always disturbs the self, so that you get depressed afterwards.
Not if it's the right sort of love.
Well, only if you've got unhappiness in your body. In your unhappiness, love will always disturb that.
But if there is no unhappiness, then you just.
Then, if there's no unhappiness in you, and you truly love, then you're more alive than you've ever been.
You just multiply.
Yes, you just multiplied. Your senses are more acute. You sing or you walk around, and no problem. But what I'm trying to say is that love will always disturb the self, and we think that something has happened, but it hasn't. It's only disturbed our past unhappiness. That's what love's for, so that we can face it intelligently. Yes, I've got a young questioner here.
Can you destroy the self?
Can you destroy the self? Now, that's a good question. No. There is no need to destroy the self. The self is inflated or swollen up with emotion and wrong behavior, wrong attachments. What we do by living the spiritual life is reduce it, such as, if I feel angry, my self is vibrating like this, and if I look in to see why I'm angry, and I see, my goodness, I've got no right to be angry here, all I'm doing is trying to do the impossible, and that's making me angry, and I can't do the impossible, so what's the good? It's stupid for me to be angry, and I give it up because I've seen the truth. That reduces myself. So the spiritual life is about reducing myself, right? Not destroying it, reducing myself, right? Eventually, I will get myself down to, let's say, only that thick, right? I get it. I've reduced it all down to there. Here is where it's of value. This self really represents all my experience in life, all that I've experienced. For instance, I'm trying to get your name a minute. Luke, yes, thank you, Luke. Luke's only, how old are you, Luke? 8. Luke's 8, right. For instance, Luke, in your experience of life, you have learnt, have you not to walk on broken glass? You wouldn't walk on broken glass, would you, Luke? Right, because you've learnt that if I walk on broken glass, it will cut my foot and hurt, right? That's experience. Whereas a little baby just learning to walk would see broken glass could be on the floor, and he or she would walk over that and cut themselves, wouldn't they? because they hadn't had the experience that taught them that it cuts and hurts. Right? So, our self consists of all that experience, that broken glass hurts, and all the other things. I mustn't jump off a high wall because the last time I did it, it hurt, or I've seen someone hurt themselves, and I've learnt that. You've broken your arm, Luke. That's right. That was experience. That's in yourself. So you wouldn't do the same thing again, would you? No, because your self tells you, I mustn't do that again, because in my experience, it hurts or does damage. Right, that's the value of the self. But when it's inflated like this, I've got all sorts of things like this. I say to Dad, you ought to love me, Dad. You ought to give me everything that I want. You know, I want this, I want that, I want that. You should give me that, Dad, because I'm going to be unhappy if you don't give it to me. You know, that's the self, isn't it? That's all inflated emotion, isn't it? Demand. Well, of course, you got rid of that, Luke. I know, and I'm not just making this up. Luke's a very spiritual young man, and he's been practicing this ever since he was born. You know, I was around when he was born, and his parents have been talking about God to him since he was born. So that's why you get the question, you see. He's quite intelligent. So we reduce all that stuff, and then we get down to where our sheer experience of life, which is ourself. Now, here's myself, and underneath myself is me, this wonderful God-still place that goes deep forever and ever. So there's my little self that is just sitting here with the experience of this life of so many years, and this deep, fathomless, empty wonderness. Right. Now this empty wonderness of me has lines of power in it. Power. They're very straight lines. Power lines are always straight. Whereas myself, the lines in myself are force lines, and they are circular. They're circuitous. They go in circles, like worry. Now, as I'm reducing myself, my self lines of force start to go more straight. They start to get straightened out, in keeping with power lines in me. So, the more I reduce myself in the spiritual life, myself starts to get what is called aligned with me. What was circuitous and confused lines starts to go straight. So by the time... Pardon?
So that sort of become a part of me in a way.
Exactly. So it becomes a part of me in a way, right? And not bad from an 8-year-old, is it, right? And that is so because it is alive. But where it is all circular and worried and emotional and going around in circles, it's separate from me. But as it gets straightened out and starts to get aligned with me, it starts to become a part of me. Then myself, it can be said, is the most beautiful disciple of the Master, which is me. Myself then says, I have no more willfulness in me, Father, the great God which is me. I bow myself, I am your servant, whatever you ask of me I will do. Right? So myself becomes the servant instead of the proud and willful one that it used to be up here, unhappy and everything. Then there is no difference between myself and me, except myself is only in existence. It's there to warn me. For instance, Luke, you're in bed asleep. Suddenly you wake up. What has woken you? Yourself, because you've smelt. Yourself, the body has smelt the smell of smoke. The self says, brrr, it self vibrates when it smells smoke. Danger, danger, danger. Wakes the body, the consciousness comes up, you look around, you find the house on fire, you run out, and the body is saved, the life is saved. If it hadn't been for the self, you wouldn't have known what it was. The little baby would die there and suffer, wouldn't it? Because it hadn't experienced smoke. and that you need to be careful with fire. So the self serves all that purpose. And that's what wakes you up in the middle of the night when you think that somebody might be in the house or something. Your senses have heard something, it relates to yourself, the self vibrates, you wake up startled. You don't know why you woke up. It was because yourself was always there, waiting. You listen, and you take whatever action, go downstairs and see there's no one there. And as soon as you satisfy yourself that there's no one there, you go back to sleep. The self is all right. Right? That's what it's there for. Now, in love, in the love life, the self, you have to get rid of all the wishful thinking about love. And as you get rid of that and stop being attached to love, but be honest to love and true to love, then yourself does not expect love, does not think that love, when you fall in love, that's it. Yourself knows, because it has been aligned with me, that I must be honest to this situation. I must give up any attachment to this, or I will disturb myself, inflate myself. I must be honest and straight and true. The point of this is that the only thing in existence is myself. Everything in existence is self. Everything. Me cannot come into existence. Me is so fine and spiritual that it's out of existence. So it comes into existence, first of all, through the body. And there's no problem, because this body is me at the octave. Me is out of existence. That comes into existence in the sense as this body. So this body is me. That's what you'd say, wouldn't you? Who did, where are you feeling this love? Here, in me. You'll point to your body. This body is me. But what gets the meat in the sandwich, the problem in the sandwich, is the self that comes in, this inflated self that we gather as we get older of hurt and pain. Then when we get to 30, 40 or 50, we've got to reduce that self so that it does not get in the way between my body and me. And then when it's reduced here, as we say, and it's aligned with me, it's the same as me, and then I can enjoy my body, and I can enjoy my senses, and enjoy my life, because thank goodness myself has become me, as it were. Thank you, Luke. All right, well, that's a good place to finish on, isn't it? So thank you for being with me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Thank you.
This is a Barry Long audio. For more information about Barry Long's other audios, videos and books, visit www.barrylong.org.